Well, hello everybody. Welcome to a pilot episode of a show that has no name. I'm on Realtor Rap or Rappin' Realtors.
Brett and Justin Save the World.
Brett and Justin Save the World, just for the bigness of it and the draw of it. This could be a one-off. And basically what we're doing is we're just two realtors that talk all the time, as I'm sure if you're in the real estate industry, you understand, talking around the water cooler, talking on chats, groups, whatever, about all the stuff that's going on in our industry and our market. And at some point we talked so much, we said maybe we should just go outside of the office and have a cup of coffee and talk outside somewhere else, and maybe someone else wants to hear what we have to say, but we don't know. We don't care. We're just here to have a good time and talk real estate. And then wherever else our chats wander. Today we do want to give a big shout out to Head Rush Roasters Coffee and Tea. They are awesome Northland, Kansas City business, been doing it for a lot of years, and we're at their Briarcliff location. They're letting us take up a lot of space, but they have amazing coffees and teas. Matter of fact, if you go in and ask for the Advocate blend, that is my personal company's blend with Head Rush coffees. So there's a little plug for no reason, because I don't make anything on that. Matter of fact, if you go order it, they'll probably go what, and then it'll be a lot of confusion.
It should have been the Buffin blend still though.
Well, that's blend 2. That's a whole different blend. You know, it's like
breakfast blend.
You know, as we all know, and you guys will find out, we have a lot of things, a lot of ideas, and a lot of weird stuff that runs through our head, which is like, well, maybe someone else in the world will need to hear this or laugh at this as we make fools out of ourselves. And that's what we're here for. So pull up a chair, grab your coffee, or it's a Friday afternoon, grab an alcoholic beverage, whatever you want to imbibe with. And
I'd like to think most people are listening while they're driving, and you say that.
Pull, and you know what? Well, never mind. But so, whatever you're rocking, just enjoy. And you know, really, as we all know, the real estate industry is ridiculously dynamic, and I don't know if it's ever been more dynamic than it is right now. And you know, just from my background, for the 3 people listening, you know, I did mortgages for 7 years, and then I stepped away, and now I'm back in real estate. So I'm kind of really a newbie who just has a lot of opinions, but I don't necessarily can't back it up with a lot. I just have a lot of observations, but I am learning quick on the fly in this market. Justin, I don't know if you want to say how much background you have, but
I've kind of touched it all. I've been an appraiser about 18 years now, got into sales 7 years ago. In between, I've worked as an assessor, I've sold insurance a little bit, and so I've kind of touched every facet of real estate. Worked as an appraisal manager for a national lender, so I've got quite a bit of insight on the mortgage side of things, although I've never been a mortgage officer, so you could school me there. But you know, love marketing, love talking about how social dynamics, and how we're kind of all just mammals that get programming, and we can be tricked, and it's fun watching what tricks a herd and what makes everybody behave a certain way, which is half the stuff we talk about. Is whether it's politics or real estate, it's really about kind of what the herd's doing, what the herd's thinking.
Right. So. And in reality, I mean, we got to take care of the herd. We got to take care of our client, our individuals, and we're kind of on all sides of that game, that interplay all the time, and it moves. And that's the thing I think that's tough for a lot of real estate agents, and for me trying to figure stuff out, is the goalposts move every single day.
It's like fishing. They bit one day, the next day weather seems the same, but the fish are eating something else, and it changes that fast.
Yeah, and of course there's a lot of resources out there, and there's a lot of people that take good money because they have good things to say, and I think our thought is we'll just sort of pop in every couple of weeks or a month or whatever it is with, hey, things have kind of been changing. Here's what we're seeing here in Kansas City, Missouri, on our side of the world, whether it's from an appraisal standpoint, buyer, seller, whatever, kind of what's trending. And so it's a little bit more, hopefully, fresh and real and dynamic, at least from our small scope of and perspective. And I think right now I don't think it's any secret, and I don't think any market is immune from it around our country, is this crazy seller's market. And I think every agent, every buyer, seller is trying to figure out whether they want to get in the market, whether they're in the market, whether they're just trying to help their clients to the market. Like, what's the answer to this? Like, how do we do this right? And I think you and I have had a lot of conversations recently about, we're watching, for example, we have a house 2 days ago that goes on the market, and it's priced, it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, suburban home, clean, 175
below the median, just right below the median. And he brought it up in his office, and our guess is like it should have been priced at 225, and they put it on the market at 175. And I have no idea in one day how many people came through that house. But what's the current count on offers right now?
60. Well, they locked it down finally at 63 offers in.
Yeah, so it's just a crazy number to have 63 interested parties in a property. Just to think there's 63 buyers out there for a single house,
Yeah.
When I got into the business, we'd have 6 months to sell a property and maybe have 12 showings in that time, and now you've got 63 in a single day, or 63 offers. We don't even know how many showings there were.
Oh, probably hundreds, 200 probably.
We both were there and drove by, and there's line down the block. One of the neighbors thought there was a funeral, didn't know somebody had died, came and talked to me, didn't know why there were so many cars.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's bizarre, and in that situation, that I think that agent was, I think it was a little self-serving to underprice that property. It was obviously intentional, and we're seeing more and more of that. Nationwide, I'm seeing, part of the groups I'm a part of, we're hearing of coastal cities, with agents listing, obviously $800,000 properties in the $400,000 range, which a month ago I was kind of laughing about. That didn't make sense, but now it's made it here. So we're always a little bit behind the coasts in those reactions. And the reasons for that is obviously attention. It's putting a lot of attention for the agent, but I just don't see how it serves the client to underprice something and let the market drive the price, because they're not doing it auction style. The buyers have no idea what the current bid is, so they're just like we talked about the marbles. It's like they put a jar of marbles and say, guess how many marbles there are, and that's how all the buyers are. That's how they're making their bids, is guessing what somebody else's bid might be. And I just don't see how that could possibly get the top dollar out of the house.
And that's the thing right now that I think that we're talking around a lot is one, is it sellers agents, is it listing agents that kind of are purposely chumming the water and pricing low because they want those big numbers. They want to tell their seller and be able to market, hey, look, I got 63 offers on this house, and that's my sales pitch. And I think what the kind of epiphany that you brought the other day was, that shouldn't be, you shouldn't be bragging about that. Like if you get 63 offers on a $175,000 house, you priced it wrong. And then did you do a disservice to your client? And this is, we've been having, I'll be honest, I'm kind of trying to find, it's almost like a sports agent or a sports like GM. Like I'm trying to find the weakness in the market and exploit that. And I'm finding off-market deals to be the way that I can take care of my buyers and my sellers, still get maximum dollar and keep everybody calm and sane and stress-free, because it's a professional, everyone can kind of work the terms on their own time. This isn't this high pressure thing. I think when you chum the water and you do this low thing and know we're going to have a madhouse, what seller wants 200 people walking through that house? What seller wants,
what buyer wants that? What buyer wants to go into a house where they can't even open a cabinet door without 4 people saying, excuse me?
Yeah.
They don't have but, 30 seconds to really take it all in. And they've got to make a second decision and then go compete against 63 other offers.
Which again, you don't even know what you're competing against. You're just throwing darts out. Right. You're throwing stuff out up in the air and hoping that it lands, and rarely, it's like the lottery at this point. It doesn't land for most people. So they're getting burned out, they're getting frustrated, and they're either turning to their buyer's agent and going, what do you do? Why can't you win this? Like like now it's the buyer's agent's fault, and as a buyer's agent, like when I went and showed those clients, and I was like, I know we can't win this battle. Like there's this. We don't even know what the battle. We don't even know what the rules are in this battle. Like how do you win this thing?
Right.
And so again, but I think the point.
How do you tell your buyer to go $50,000 over? What's it based on? Just your gut?
Right.
They don't need a buyer's agent to shoot from their gut.
And that's the big point that you and I were talking about, that you made, that I thought was awesome, that I hadn't thought about, was when buyers or buyers agents see a home go live, we just assume that the list price is an accurate price. We assume that the listing agent knows what they're doing, and that they did their homework and they did their comps and they've priced it accurately based on condition, all the things that we think. We just sort of go, and we'll do our own homework. We'll look in the neighborhood and see. But like you said, in a normal market, you're looking at 2, 3, 4 month old comps. Well, in this market, if you're back more than a week, you're in old news. As a matter of fact, like you said, it's almost like hunting. It's like you got to lead the shot, because you got to know, okay, I'm pricing it today based on what I think happened a week ago in a nearby area, not even in this neighborhood because you can't. But reality is, if that happened a week ago, we're already higher now, and we're going to be higher in 3 days. So I actually need to put my price out here.
Yeah, that last comp was a stepping stone for the next price point.
That was your low comp, right. And then now you're in the middle comp, and you got to think about your high comp, and then you got to go price to the high comp, because by the time the appraisal gets run, it's going to be in the middle again.
Yeah. So since the market crash of '08, one of the big things that brokerages train on is how to get price, how to first, when you get a listing, get it priced correctly. That way you can sell it quick. Mm-hmm. And then how to get price drops. So your stronger listing agents, they could get the seller in a position to accomplish what they wanted to do, which was sell their house, mm-hmm. and not be marketed for too long. But now those same scripts are being applied when they're listing houses in such an appreciating market that, again, it's just not. I don't think it's serving for the client. It's creating a mess.
Yeah, and I think the question is, I think my assumption is most listing agents aren't trying to chum the water, price low, and get a madhouse. I don't think that's what they're trying to do. I think they just don't know what numbers to work on at this point. It's moving so fast, and they haven't been properly kind of informed on, hey man, here's what you gotta, like you said, you can't just look in the 1 mile radius anymore. You gotta look across, like in our area, we've got, this north of the river area is a huge swath, and you need to go across that whole swath and look at that home type in every part of the Northland and find, okay, well, it sold for $250 over there and $220.
Yeah, I was talking to one of my clients earlier before I got here, and we're gonna list his house in the next couple weeks. And honestly, I can't get him to stop working on it. He went and bought hinges because they're brass, and I was like, the buyers don't care. They just want a house. Get it on. Mm-hmm. He's like, what do you think we're worth now? Well, a few weeks ago, we were probably, 6 months ago, we were at 330. A few weeks ago, we were at about 350, 355, and I told him today I think 380. And he, the reason is he's in Liberty, mm-hmm. and there's this house that's pending in Gladstone that was on the market for a day, and they priced it at 395. And it had a 3-car garage. His doesn't, but he's a lot more updated. And he's in Liberty and not in Gladstone, which I think is a higher demand market. So it's just one of those things where, like, yeah, that Gladstone comp isn't a comp necessarily, but it's a good indicator. You go, because if that's true there, then this has to be true there. And most agents are still pricing as if it was, a market where we have more frequency, where we have sales that are, that are occurring every month in that same subdivision. That's not happening right now. There's just such few sales that when the typical, the average agent shows up and they're pricing with the old metrics, they're still taking the last 3 sales in the neighborhood and saying, well, this house was a little nicer than yours, and this one here. Well, the time's more important than anything. I don't. Mm-hmm. Appraisers, they're not really that keen on making time adjustments, and it's a lot of work to do the math, and the average realtor doesn't know how to do it. Mm-hmm. So they just know how to pick the nearest 3 comps, and it doesn't serve in this market,
Or even worse, they're looking at, you've got a couple of different automatic value metric apps you can use, and we've got one through Remax, and you pop it up and it'll tell you it's this dollar amount, but then they'll show you a range, and very quickly, even
Zillow will give you a 0 to 5 star. I think in our area we're a 1 star out of 5. So
the whole area is a 1.
Yeah, if you look on there, you look deep enough in their website, it'll tell you which zip codes, and it'll give a accuracy rating. And I believe we're a 1 star at least last year. They may have upgraded and got better. But
well, I've always told people, especially in this market, look at your estimate and then call me and I'll tell you what it's really worth, because it's way over that. Yeah. But that's the thing is you've got agents that I think also, especially maybe I don't want to say younger agents that are maybe more app based or more computer based, and they're trusting those models. Because if it's a Remax branded model, you're like, well, they know what it's talking about. It said 175 on that house, on that McGee house, right? Well, what it also said was 160 to 210 maybe.
Right.
And then what I've been figuring out a couple of months ago even was go to the top end of that range. That's where we really are. And in this market, probably add on to that, another 5 or 10%, take that top of that range. And again, depends on the house and the market. But I think, again, I guess it's like, I'm giving the benefit of the doubt, I guess, to the selling agents, I think the majority aren't trying to cause chaos, but they just either don't know how to price, or pricing on the old model, or using a computer model that's evaluator that's telling them what to do, and they're not thinking it through enough. And I think if anything right now, value versus price, right? The price, you got to figure out how to value in this market, and you've got to figure it out really fast, because it's hurting all of your buyers. It's hurting your sellers with the chaos that's coming. Because then again, we haven't talked about that. What happens in this market, right? You get people that are just throwing out fiction numbers, and they're acting impulsively and emotionally because they have to.
Least, when you did mortgages, people that are impulsive have what type of credit score usually?
Right. Exactly. Right.
They have lots of regrets, lots of remorse. That's the worst buyer we could have. I'd much rather have a buyer for one of my sellers' houses that's it's thought things out and slept on it. They did the sleep test a few nights, and they still made a decision to move forward versus a knee-jerk reaction and then a knee-jerk remorse reaction. I can't think of any other model when it comes to marketing that aside from a nightclub with the you can't get in model, eBay, it's the only thing I can think of where they start a price that's fictionally low and grabs attention. You find that, I think even in eBay, if you go back, which I used to sell a lot on there, you go back and you see your initial bids, very few times are those initial bids ever the person that actually, is interested, at the full price. You find that all of a sudden, as it gets closer to that interested level, the real buyers show up, and then the scavengers, the deal hunters, they're not in there. So I don't understand why we want to bring those deal hunters, those scavengers, when we're looking for the right butt for that seat,
Right.
My argument is there's a thing called an anchor price, and that's the idea that's the number we put in as a marketer, we put that number in the buyer's head. So like JCPenney, they always have things on sale. They say it's $20 on sale for $13.99. Well, the typical buyer that walks in there goes, "Oh, I saved $7." We all deep down know that the real price is always $13.
Right.
But
it's the suckers that paid that paid overprice.
Right. So it just doesn't make sense though for JCPenney to put a shirt on and say, was $13, now $20. Make your best offer over $20. Or
right.
eBay does that. But the problem with in eBay, you might get top dollar out of something on eBay, but at least on eBay they're showing you what all the bids are. Mm-hmm. You can go, well, if they're bidding X, I'll go over that by this much, and then you watch it and you go again. That's not what's happening. There's no way that agent was able to call 63 people back and tell them what the other terms were, so that they would have a chance to go over it.
Right.
That's not fair. What's happening.
Well, when you talk about escalation clauses, which I don't know if we want to get down that whole road, because but put a pin in that. But I think they're bogus. But in this market, if you got 10 escalation clauses, then you're just doing this. Everyone's just chasing it up to whatever.
Last I heard, they were $50,000 over on that one.
Mm-hmm.
So what if they? Again, we looked at it and knew it should have been $50,000 higher when it started. So what if they had started at $50,000 higher and they only brought 5 or 6 interested parties in, which is probably all they've got. Out of 63, there's probably 5 or 6 that are really in that last stretch, and those people all had at least a target to shoot at, and then that agent was able to communicate between the top 5 or 6 people. Where could they have pushed it to? I'd be interested to see where this falls, and I bet you it still fell short because it just started so low. And it doesn't get 7 days or 10 days like eBay. This is going to be 3 days and a very small amount of communication over a $220,000 to $240,000 item that this agent's making significant commission on.
Right.
That I just don't think I don't think it's possible to squeeze as much for the seller when you've started at that low. Just laws of marketing and anchoring just doesn't make sense to me.
And that's part of the reason why we're talking so much about this. Well, everyone's talking so much about this. We've had multiple people in our large office get on, our shared group and be like, please help, advice. How do we win this? How do we win this? We're throwing 50 grand over, all cash, waving everything, and we can't win. And so you have frustrated everybody everywhere because it's just messed up. And I think what we're getting at is, the first step to the solution, which is so tough, but hopefully all 1.5 people that are listening to this, we're saving you and you're going to be better, but is for the listing agents to do their job better and step their games up, because like you said, let's go back to the McGee house again. If it actually starts at 225, well, how many people showed up to that house that are capped at 175?
Right.
So first of all, in this market, buyers agents, don't take your clients out to a 175 house if they're only capped at 175. They're already, you've lost the game, and you're wasting everyone's time, and you're adding more false energy into that house, which is driving. It's like false demand, right? And you've caused more chaos. And so then, or even if you're capped out at 180, 185, or you've got a VA FHA buyer that has no flexibility and can't waive inspections or can't do whatever.
It's hard though for new buyers to understand what the market is. Like, I didn't go in that house, but I brought my buyer by there.
Yeah,
I scheduled it.
I went in it,
and she drove by and said, not interested. She just on that alone. She's actually qualified to go up to 225.
Right.
But she wasn't going to get into the madhouse. And for me, it was good, though, because I'm working her on trying to get her some off-market opportunities. Mm-hmm. And I want her to realize when I bring her a deal that it's a deal. So I'll show those properties just to go ahead and take my clients to battle, let them get an idea, get a little more,
So they're more, they appreciate the off-market and yeah. But I mean, so it really falls, that's this, and we were talking to our broker about this yesterday. The solution to this crazy market problem we all have is listing agents need to be better and price them more accurately, so that you get genuinely qualified, and you've got the value at the right spot to start. And like you said, if you get 3 or 4 offers at that point, so again, we'll go back to McGee, you started at 220, let's say. Well, then they compete from 220 and drive to 230 or 235.
Right.
Okay, so now you've only driven up 10 over, which is still crazy, but it's a more realistic number that you're, like you said, the agents are able to communicate with each other and figure out, like, well, here's what we got, or here's what you need, or here's whatever. And as opposed to starting at 175, and maybe it only went for 210, or maybe it went for 220, and those sellers just lost $10,000 to $15,000 to $20,000 because we started so low that the climb was so emotional.
It was weighted, yeah.
And it was so shooting in the dark. So let's put it at the right spot. And again, so we've got a newer agent in our office, and she got her first listing today, out live, and is freaking out because there isn't a line out the door.
She has 4 showings today.
Well, they didn't even go live until 2. So at noon, only 3 were scheduled.
Yeah,
well,
only 3.
And she's right, exactly, and she's expecting to have a full, like, it's selling out already, and people line up at the door, like she's seen other places. And what you and I think other people have said is, it just means you've probably priced it accurately, and you're getting real interest. And I told her, I said, this is good for you as a listing agent, especially for your first one. Do you want 100 agents calling you all day and texting you with a million questions? Do you want to get badgered about what do you have, what do you have, what do you have, what can I do, here's a letter, please, I've got a whatever, blind veteran and I need to get it, whatever the sob stories are. You get to actually deal with maybe 2 offers, maybe 3 offers, maybe 4 offers, and do it over a 3-day period, and actually get to work the way it's supposed to work, and end up with a genuine deal that's not emotional, with a qualified buyer who's not going to flake out on you, right? So I feel like it's the listing agent's job. They've got to get better about value and pricing, and like you said, stop bragging to people on your social media about all your offers. It means you didn't do your job right, and it's a harsh thing to say, because this has just happened over the last few weeks or months, where you know what I'm saying, the tables, the market has shifted so radically. People who have done their job great for even 20 years and have been on their game, the game's just changed so much. So now you got to shift. Or you're messing up. You're hurting your clients and your sellers or whatever. So I think on the listing side, and I think on the buying side, and you touched on it, and you were kind of, I didn't let you finish your point. I probably interrupted you, but I'm starting to think, like, I do think there is a responsibility on the buyer's agent side to educate your buyer, first of all, always, right? Educate your buyer on what this market looks like and say, here's the deal. Really figure out what they can afford and what they're comfortable with. Really figure out do they have any family money they can, get all the stuff figured out before you start looking.
Right.
And then once you know what their top is, you're not even doing the search at the top, because you're going to just plan for over by a lot. And so don't take your clients to homes that you can't win. And I think a lot of times agents let the clients pull them around, like, I want to go see it. And you go, okay. As opposed to, well, no, because that's a home we can't, that's going to be frustrating for you. I don't want to waste your time. And I think if buyers agents would get out of the fights they can't win, that would also reduce the scrum and would cause more civility and normalcy in the process. I
think that there's two different directions we're going. Either one is we're on, this is a blip and we're going to have a plateau or some sort of market reaction soon. Prices go back down or stay the same. The other one is that the market's expected to continue to climb, which they're calling for 10% this year. So if we wait for the market to equalize, then all the properties will be 225. So that's tough. Do you go out and it's speculating, and it's up to your buyer to decide whether they want to speculate the market. But my speculation is that everything's going to equalize soon, and these are become the new norm prices. The best, as far as a seller, I would never sell. I would not never, but to get the most money, it's definitely to put it on the market. But if you can find properties for your buyers off market, where you could find sellers that just are in a position, like you're working on one where, and I've done one, I'm working on one now too, where they've got a tenant in place, they don't want to make the property vacant. If they could just sell it, those are the opportunities that exist right now. There's also we were just talking the other day about how you can make an offer on something before you've ever seen it, and you can make blind offers and play to sellers' emotions. There's opportunities out there. We'll stop on that. Like, do you think making a sight unseen offer is a good idea? Is that a winning formula for any? Tell me the situation where that's a good idea. Well, there's lots of ways out of a contract. So right, exactly. So just go win the deal and then figure it out later. Yeah. And that's again why you need to, as a seller listing agent, you got to protect from that. A mess. Yeah, you need to price it right so you don't get people in there just speculating and then pulling on you. You're right, but the listing agent's setting the rules of the game, and that's one of the plays that you can play. Mm-hmm. It's not illegal. It's not my favorite way of doing business, but that's what it takes to win, and that's what it takes to win. I've definitely done it before. But okay, so this is a good conversation, I think, because this is where our dynamic Brett and Justin Save the World podcast is going to play out over all of our episodes. Is that we can't always agree, right? We got a counterpoint somewhere. But but I don't know if this is a counterpoint or not. But I want to probe it a little bit more. Like, is the mission money, or is the mission best for client? Right, and so someone like me will say, I'll tell you my mission, right? I am client, and I'm actually all parties in the process. I'm to a fault probably, right? Pragmatic and want everyone win-win. I want to have it to be a win-win for everybody, right? And my idea is that if I play that and take care of my friends and family and clients, and really, really give them genuinely awesome experiences, right? Then I will of course, make enough money. Like that's always been my motivation to get in the business. But I think a lot of people probably, and not right or wrong, is, well, I want to take good care of my clients so I can make a ton of money. Like the money's really the focus as opposed to taking good care of the clients, which I think comes into these crazy markets where then buyers agents are having to get desperate and do crazy things, which means they're sometimes just for the pride of winning, or just because it's desperate times, are doing things that maybe aren't in the best interest of their client. Just because they want to win the deal and make the money and get moving on. I don't know what the NAR stat is for this last year, but I think the last time I saw a NAR, that's our big association. The average agent made $27,000 in commissions. Which when you take away their costs and everything. For like annually? Mm-hmm. And I think it's like 4 deals a year. Don't quote me, but it's something super low. And it's the Pareto's law, where 20% of the business is done by, or 80% of the business is done by 20% of the agents. Mm-hmm. So most of your newer agents or your lower performing agents, they do a lot more work with buyers. And if they're only doing 4 deals a year, and in this market it gets this tight, I think it's only human human for them to feel a little more desperate.
And do things that maybe put maybe them first before the client.
Well, I don't even think. I'm going to take your argument on it. I don't even think that they know it because they're not touching enough business in a year to know what to do.
Right.
It's not like it's not like they're selling X many houses, and they're on both sides of it. If they're only doing 4 deals a year, I mean, shoot, the market changed 15% in the last quarter, let's say. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming they do 1 a quarter. They're completely from a different market coming into here.
Right. But what about the veteran who does crazy business, who knows, right? But
I've got 25 buyers that aren't. We're not racing out. I'm not in this market. I'm not writing those offers. I just I'm telling people to be patient. I'll find you a house,
which is good.
Let's be patient.
If a buyer can wait, just don't do something dumb.
I like selling houses retail. I like buying them wholesale. I like finding a deal on the buy side. Let's shoot for the stars on the sale side though.
Right. So again, I guess I
will tell you, there's only one time I've underpriced something to get attention. And my friend had a Mustang, and we put it on Craigslist for really cheap, and his phone blew up for like 2 days and couldn't figure out where it was coming from. So, I mean, there is a reason to underprice something. If you want your phone to blow up, if you want, if you want to get attention on something, but that's not. We didn't sell that Mustang. So.
And again, and then when I think maybe again. And I'm talking about this from an angle like I'm still a new enough guy that I'm not high rolling by any stretch, but I feel like I keep a calmness. But if you're a new listing agent in this market, you really do maybe get the adrenaline, and you do want the publicity of 70 offers and be able to put because that it's just putting your name out there in your mind, right? Like I think it's like you got to the psychology of that. Like you got to still do what's best for the clients, all the agents, because that's a karma thing. I think it's going to come back on you.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I like being the secret sniper, and all of a sudden somebody realizes there's a truck in the driveway. They didn't even know the house sold, and then all of a sudden I get to go brag that we were the highest sale in the neighborhood. But the way I do it, I'm from markets where it took a year to sell a house and 6 months to sell a house. So to me, taking 30 days or 14 days to sell a house is nothing. So if I'd rather push the market, overprice.
Yeah. And it's fun of being out among the people in the airports.
Yeah, but I'd rather overprice something and take our time. It serves me. If I have a house on the market for 2 weeks, I have an opportunity to answer some phone calls, and I could, and buyers have time to call and ask questions. So it serves me. I have an opportunity to meet more people. I have time to talk to the neighbors. I have time to have an open house and get involved in that neighborhood. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I'm going to attract buyers that are serious, and maybe we overprice and come down a little bit. Mm-hmm. That's okay. That's finding balance. That's finding the top. That's finding the market. Especially when you have buyers that don't know how to negotiate. They're used to shooting over. So I'd rather be above and let them try to talk me down. Mm-hmm. They already have that momentum to go up. Mm-hmm. I know their agents aren't used to negotiating. Negotiations right now is just, what is it going to take to get my buyer this house? Mm-hmm. That gives me a hell of an advantage whenever I'm the one.
How many kidneys can I give you for this house? Yeah, right. Like, exactly. Like, no, you don't want to do that. No, I do. Yeah. So
at a certain point, what can they offer you? The house is only worth so much.
Okay. So now, I guess segue. We touched on it a little bit. Somewhere along the line, a few weeks ago, I struck on the idea of off market. Not like I struck on it, like no one's ever thought of this in the world, but just in my own dumb vacuum brain, I was like, maybe this is a thought. And then I did it. I did a deal, and it was, it's for my cousin, and it worked for her. And it worked for her for a lot of reasons. I mean, we got her, we were shooting. She was going to do $5,000 of repairs. And updates to get it to top of the market in her neighborhood. And in this market at that time, this was September of this year, was 211. Was going to be that was our target range. After she put $5,000 out of her pocket for paint and new countertops, whatever. She did a few little things, didn't do the big items, and I called her a month or two ago, whatever it was, and said, hold on, what if we can not spend that money and I can make you $14,000 more than you thought you were going to make at the top? and even maybe more than that if we can get some competition off market, and so she's like, and no showings, or minimal, no open houses, don't have to worry about your house being publicized, don't have to worry about the photos, all that kind of stuff. And she was like, please, all day long, let's do that. And it's absolutely what we did, and got her 14 grand more than she thought, plus she kept 5 in her pockets, almost 20 grand
It
net.
wasn't stressed out.
And that it wasn't stressed out, and that was in a 3 or 4 month different time frame.
And the buyer behaved well because they felt like they got a backdoor deal, and they didn't go to bed nervous that they'd overpaid in a big, they overspent at the auction.
They were first time home buyers who hadn't yet gone out but were scared to death to go fight these fights, and knew they were in for like 6 months of stress and heartbreak. And then they got to get a deal. They're still paying top of the market at the time, but they appreciate it because they got the house. It was on terms they could work with, and it worked for them. We didn't gouge. My client could have made 5 or 10 more if we'd have put a sign in the yard and played the game and had that party, that mass potentially. But then it potentially gotten 5 or 10 more, and then had that buyer back out because of inspections or because and now we're doing it again and again and again. And so I've had agents in our office say, why are you, especially old school agents, right? Why are you doing these off market things? And I say, because time and stress are as important as money to a lot of people, and you got to know your clients that are selling their house, what their priorities are. And if their priorities are getting every single nickel out of that house and they need it, well, let's clean it up and put a sign in the yard and go, and play the game. But if they don't need every dime, that low pressure, low stress is a great way to do that for your sellers.
Right.
But then also your buyers. If you can go pull an off market deal for your buyers right now, and then you don't even why even fight this fight you can't fight?
This isn't a new market. I mean, this is a new phase of a really hot market. We've been saying it's hot for years now, and last year was pretty hot. Nothing like this, but last year 42% of our buyers bought a house off market. That meant I wasn't stressed. There's another agent in our office that she works mostly buyers, and she works Zillow and Facebook really hard, and she had to take time off work last year for her stress level. I didn't have that. We still went home and saw our kids at night and lived a life. Not to say we weren't busy, but that I wasn't out writing 15 offers and being told no 15 times to find one. I could pair up one for one. I mean, we're brokers. We're supposed to put 2 parties together, so we're like little cupids out there. I recognize what house meets my client's needs. I go find it and show them 1 or 2 houses. I show them everything that pops up on the market. I don't encourage them to get involved in the auction, especially when I know what my skills are. My skills are finding houses off market, and on the buy side, I have other skills on the sell side.
What are some of your? I know you don't want to give away all your secrets, but
my skills.
Yeah, what are some of your secrets?
Toe staff.
That's one of many, of course.
Working on the nunchucks, but kind of clumsy. On shopping for homes, well, I mean,
you go in and find it. Like you said, you can you've gotten a lot of good systems for targeting and finding off-market things for your buyers and avoiding the rat race.
It's a lot of direct mail. I'm not afraid of buying stamps, and we have systems in place where we can quickly identify houses that. Before we send a letter, we're only sending letters to houses we know already meet our clients' needs. Whereas our competition is kind of, they're shotgun approaching everything. They're just, here's a flyer, I'm looking for any house. Our letters speak to the client, that we're, speak on behalf of our client. They need these specific features. Must be a walkout. Well, I'm not sending a letter to a house that doesn't have a walkout basement. It has to have a pool. It's only going to pools. 3-car garage, only 3-car garages. And I like to think of it as a golden ticket. Whenever that seller opens that letter, their mind is, that's exactly what I've got. I write the letter as if I wrote it to everyone, as if we did the shotgun approach, but I'm specifically mailing it to the houses that I know already meet our needs, and excluding the ones that don't. So it keeps my costs down. Not to say we don't spend a ton of money on stamps, but it allows us to be way more effective and canvas more that actually meets the client's needs. So,
Yeah, I swore I wouldn't be someone that needed to do this, but this market and me realizing the value of off market, is causing me to go door knock. Old school, right? I mean, like, I just ordered 1,000 more, custom card things today that I wanted to get, whatever. But yeah, I know I've got buyers right now that we've been looking for months, and I'm not going to let them settle, and I'm not going to force them, and I'm not going to, they don't have to buy, which is a great position. So I can go into neighborhoods that I know they like and look at those ranches or look at those raised ranches, and I can walk down the street. I mean, you obviously, I could also do it with a targeted list, but I'm too lazy, or I don't have the skills to do it. But I can walk in a neighborhood and go, well, that ranch looks like it's been taken care of. I'm going to knock that door. That ranch looks like it's been, oh, that one looks a little sketchy. I'm going to skip that one.
We were talking about, dating, and everything I talk in real estate is always dating. I always compare it to dating, and if you're going to ask a girl out, you're better off walking up to her and asking her out.
Mm-hmm.
And my method is I just leave a whole lot of notes on the table with a bunch of waitresses,
Right.
So I'm just putting out,
1,000 notes and 1,000 phone numbers and hoping
1,000 waitresses had to throw away my note for them to say yes.
Right.
I don't have the capacity or the time always to go knock doors. So
Right.
This is a way that I can consistently get it done, because there's we closed 12 deals last month. Well, last month didn't put me in a great position to go knock doors, and the weather wasn't this.
Right.
So it allows me to be more consistent. The Amy and Tara went out and knocked the other day, and they got a couple leads. So they knocked and flyered maybe 150 doors, and they got 2 leads. So I can tell you, I'm putting out 1,000 letters and getting 1 lead. So knocking doors is way more effective. Anytime you're getting face to face with somebody, I'm just in a position where I can afford to throw a little money at it. I have less capacity and a little more money. But definitely not as effective, and it doesn't. I'm working on behalf of my client, but I'm sure not out there knocking doors like I have done it before.
Right.
Not to the same level anymore.
And that's, we talked, so we've gone, okay, listing agents, you got to get better about pricing. You got to get better about knowing the market. You're hurting everybody when you underprice this crap,
Yeah.
I think buyer's agents, you got to get better about knowing your clients and being honest with your clients and having tough conversations with your clients and not taking them out to see things, not fighting fights you can't win.
Well, if you were shopping, like I went down to Florida not too long, a couple of years ago, and I considered buying in Branson and Lake of the Ozarks. So if you were going to hire an agent, what would you look for? In this market, what would you want out of an agent? I would want somebody that had some sort of insider deal for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need anybody to show me what I can see on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that's definitely changed in real estate. All the data is available for everybody. Whether it's good data or not,
Right.
They don't necessarily know, but they're satisfied. Zillow and Realtor.com provides them the data that makes them satisfied to make decisions. And a lot of times agents are really just there for the paperwork.
Yeah.
But if I were shopping for somebody, I'd want somebody that had insider information, that networked with other agents, and could find me something that nobody else had.
Right.
And I think that's what we're doing.
And I think, that's sort of hopefully what we're getting out of continuing our own private conversations, but then sort of publicizing our private conversations, because these brainstorms are I know I've been enlightened by a lot of things we've talked about, and I've had aha moments just in us talking. And so all these talks about, like, okay, again, people are so frustrated and getting broken down, and their clients are getting broken down this market. So like today's episode, right? It's like, this is the crazy market. Here's some things, right? Listing agents be better, buyers agents be better. Tighten up your games. But then I think the off-market game
The market's
is
going to tighten it up for everybody.
is the other one. Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, for the moment, kind of where we are as agents, what can we do proactively as opposed to sitting back and making Facebook posts on mass things and going, please, why, and what's the trick? Well, there is no trick. Get better, get tighter, right? Be more like you said. What do clients want? They want you to be a market expert. They want to come to you and not you go, gosh, I don't know, this market's crazy. They want you to say, well, here's what's happening, why it's happening, what I can do about it. Now, if you're a buyer's
What would you
agent,
want your stockbroker to say? Hey, the market's doing these crazy things. It's chaotic. They can't tell you that it's going to continue going up. They have to quickly find out, are you a risk taker? Are you in a position to take a risk?
Right.
Do you want to take a risk? I think there's actually opportunity right now. If the market's going to find balance soon, and it's shooting up so fast, if that becomes the new norm, then right now is the time to buy.
right.
You want to wait till fall to buy. That's for the non-risk takers.
Right.
But it might cost you more by then. The rates might go up.
Rates will be up.
Prices are stable.
Yeah.
Right now, rates are still low, and prices are all over the place. So there's still opportunity in there.
Right.
But it just comes down to your level of risk. I wasn't a Bitcoin buyer, and if I got in now, it'd probably be less risky than it was when it was $14 for a Bitcoin.
Right. But your profits are less now, so yeah.
Risk and reward.
Right.
Risk and reward.
Absolutely.
And I'd say right now, everybody's a little nervous. The big reward, if you would have bought in the middle of the COVID pandemic, back when it was May, if you had bought then, where would you be right now? But heck, we didn't know what was happening.
Sure.
So it was really risky.
Right.
I told, I had investors that were planning on renting houses, and they're talking about rent moratoriums. Those guys dumped all their properties, and now they're going, man, we should have held on to them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You never
yeah.
know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think.
Now they're buying in this market. They turn right around and they're getting back in.
I said when we started, I was like, when I finish my coffee, that'll be the end of the episode. And I just took my last drink. So I guess the conclusion point I was going to make, is like, what's a takeaway? The buyer's agents right now are freaking out, right? So education and communication with your buyers,
and shop with your client's wallet, not your own.
And don't go out there fighting fights. Don't waste your or their time if you know you can't win that fight. But I think the winning market right now is the off market. And a lot of buyers agents don't want to hear that, because it's a lot of either, in your regard, your team's regard, it's either spending some money and spending some time and getting those things out, and also door knocking, so you got time and resources. Or for a solo flyer like me, it's going, well, next week, 4 hours a day, I'm door knocking. I think that a lot of people just want to go, no, I want an easier answer, or I'll just keep firing offers until something sticks. But no, if you want to serve your client, get out there and find the deal and do it off. So you're going to get them a calm deal. You're going to get them what they need, and the seller that you work with is going to appreciate what you did with them too, because you brought a buyer to them. They didn't have to fix up their house, clean up their house. I mean, they didn't have to take the underwear off the floor when they did showings. Like no one cares. Like, don't dust, don't clean the toilet, don't do anything. It's a lot of anxiety.
It's like taking their daughter to the beauty contest. We can tell. We know that the house is good. There's still a fear in their mind that there's going to be negative feedback on their baby, basically.
Yeah, and so it holds them back. They're like, we're not going to put this out until it's ready. And what you got to be able to do is go to someone and say, it doesn't have to be ready. It's okay, and you don't have to even sell it. But let me show it to a person or two.
It doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be available.
Yeah, and if someone writes you a deal that you can't refuse, then you take it. And if they don't, then you stay in your house anyway, like you're doing anyway, right?
It's the what's your make me move price.
Right.
And you can ask for that right now.
Yeah.
One thing that I think you're going to start seeing, which this already happens in California. California's been a hot market for a long time, so we can just basically copy what already exists. And it's going to be seller rent backs. So, and there's buyers that are on month to months on their current lease. So we need to get more listings available in the market. There's too many buyers, and there's people that want to sell. They just don't know how to get in. They don't know how to get the horse in front of the carriage. They're completely anxious about where am I going to go. I mean, I find myself in the same boat sometimes. I consider selling, like, where would I go? So
off market.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I sell off market. I go buy off market.
I'm waiting for that deal.
Right.
But the option there is, if there's 63 people willing to buy that house, that seller very well could. They only need one but. Mm-hmm. Surely out of 63, there's one but that would say, you know what, you can stay up to 6 months, and you just have to pay the rent that equals the cost of my mortgage, and I'll just stay at my mom's basement, and then whenever this all works out, we'll move in.
Right.
Maybe not all of them would do that, but one would.
Right.
And that's our job as marketers, is to find the one. And we only have one house to sell at a time, so I don't need 63 buyers. I need one that's willing to give me terms that are advantageous for my client. And there's things like that exist. There's bridge loans. There's different types of the products that are available that allow somebody to buy before they sell. That's the best way to do it. If you're a seller and you're in a position where you can buy before you sell, you get to take advantage of both markets. But
Well, so look at I'm gonna look at our 1.5 listener here. This guy is a ridiculous vault of knowledge and information, which is why this is going to be a lot of fun because I'm an idiot. But he says a lot of awesome things. The problem is, and this is the problem we have together, is when do we shut up? And usually a phone rings or a client calls or something happens. We go,
I usually just get up and leave the office.
or he just gets up and leaves because he's busy and I'm not. I'll sit there all day.
I just get up and leave.
And we've already, so here as I tried to wrap it up after my last drink, he's dropped out. We've talked about rates climbing, stabilization of the market, rent backs. The great thing about our industry is it's so dynamic and so there's, and we didn't even go down a political or a global event.
No religion.
We didn't hit religion yet, but I mean, in real estate, our sellers and our buyers and our markets are impacted by all that stuff. So future episodes will probably slide down some other interesting roads. But I think that
solve homelessness next week.
We're going to solve homelessness next week, next month, next
realtors,
2 weeks.
That's our job.
We don't even know. Yeah, we got to find places for people to live. I don't even know when we're going to do another one, if we're going to do another one. But hopefully we do, because I mean, there's a lot to say, there's a lot to cover. I think this one was just sort of like, hey, crazy market, especially buyers. How do we win? How do we do it? You know, what's causing this? And hopefully, in our ramblings and our rumblings, we, there's a thing in there that you gleaned onto that like you hadn't thought of, and maybe get some appreciation out of that, or you just enjoyed watching two goofballs sit outside, listening to the birds squawking in our ears and planes flying over our heads. But either way, I want to say thank you again to Head Rush and the awesome customers out here who have had to listen to this nonsense for the last, I don't even know, it feels like it's been 2 minutes, but it's maybe been 4 hours. Thank you guys for watching this. If you've got any feedback for us or questions, anything you want us to kind of touch on, or you want to argue with either one of us, please argue with him more. Because I don't have anything to back up anything I said. But let us know, and we'll touch on that next time around. So thanks, guys.
Thank you.